Kursk, July 12, 1943, 4:18 a.m. Temperature 19 degrees Celsius. Wind south-southwest, 9 kilometers per hour. Visibility reduced by dust and smoke. The ground trembled. Low-frequency vibration from continuous artillery fire. The horizon glowed dull orange through layers of exhaust haze. Air smelled of burnt cordite and diesel oil. A Soviet T-34 76 stood motionless near a shallow ridge east of Prokhorovka. Hull number 432. Painted on its side in white Cyrillic letters, Boevaya, podruga, fighting girlfriend. The tank's left track was broken. A single 75mm shell from a Panzer IV had struck the drive-wheel assembly, severing the outer links. The impact disabled mobility, but left the engine intact. Inside the tank, the diesel still idled at 600 revolutions per minute, producing a rhythmic metallic pulse. Maria Vasilyevna Oktyabskaya, age 38, mechanic driver, 26th Guards, Tank Brigade, 3rd Mechanized Corps, surveyed the damage through the driver's hatch. She wore a grease-stained tanker's coverall, heavy gloves, and a leather communication helmet with throat microphone disconnected. Her respirator filter was black with soot. She knew the situation precisely. The tank could still fire, but it could not move. A stationary T-34 in open terrain was a target measured in seconds. German artillery adjusted rapidly. The ridge offered partial defilade, but no real cover. If the track remained broken, the crew would be destroyed where they stood. She unlatched the hatch, climbed out, and dropped to the ground. Distance to nearest cover, 11 meters. German positions, approximately 600 meters west, behind a line of burning wheat. Panzer IV and supporting infantry advancing in formation. Machine gun fire, intermittent but increasing. Oktyabskaya reached the damaged track and began assessment. 2 outer links shattered. Drive sprocket teeth bent inward. Idler wheel alignment off by 2 centimeters. She signaled the loader for the repair kit. A steel toolbox, 38 kilograms, thrown down from the rear hull. Inside, replacement links, welding rods, spanner wrenches, acetylene torch. Welding under fire was suicide. She began, anyway. At 4:23, the German line resumed forward movement. Estimated 5 panzers abreast, supported by half-tracks and infantry. Their objective bypassed Soviet armor positions and cut through to the rail junction east of Prokhorovka. Soviet Field Command, Voronezh Front, radioed all units to hold at any cost. Oktyabskaya ignited the torch. The flame hissed blue-white against fractured steel. Sparks scattered across her gloves. She adjusted flow with bare fingers, measuring by sound. Fuel mixture correct, when tone steady and sharp. She cleaned the broken joint with a wire brush and applied molten bead along the fracture. The tank gun fired above her. The blast shock wave flattened the wheat around the hull. She didn't look up. Each weld line took 15 seconds. Each second under artillery fire was measured by survival probability decreasing. Shrapnel struck the ground within meters. Fragments cut through wheat stalks like scythes. She continued, repositioning the torch with methodical precision. Elevation 220 meters. Range to German armor, now 480 meters. The tank commander, Lieutenant Aksionov, reported through intercom static. 3 panzers advancing, bearing 275 degrees. He ordered main gun ready. The loader inserted an armor-piercing by 350 billions shell into the breech. Firing solution calculated manually. The T-34's 76.2 mm gun discharged again. Recoil shock transmitted through the hull, shaking welding equipment. The shell struck the lead panzer's turret ring. Penetration incomplete. Sparks and fragments, no explosion. Return fire followed within 8 seconds. Impact 12 meters short. Dirt and shrapnel showered the repair position. Oktyabrskaya's torch flame sputtered. She shielded it with her body, reignited it, and continued. Her focus mechanical, not emotional. The welds held. She hammered the heated joint flat with the rear of a wrench. Metal rang high against morning air, thick with dust. At 4:31, a German machine gun opened sustained fire. 7.92 mm traces, ricocheting at shallow angles. She crouched lower, continuing to work. Sweat mixed with dust formed a grey paste across her face. The final replacement link aligned imperfectly. She adjusted sprocket position with crowbar leverage, corrected angle by 2 degrees, and locked the connecting pin. The track rejoined. Tension uneven, but functional. She signaled completion by slamming her wrench twice on the hull. The gunner rotated the turret slightly to cover her return path. She climbed back aboard, boots sliding on the tank's scorched paint. At 4:36, she sealed the driver's hatch. Inside the tank, temperature 42 degrees Celsius. Oxygen thin. Atmosphere dense with exhaust. She engaged the clutch, advanced throttle to 1,200 revolution per minute, tested traction. The track held. Grinding noise minimal. Tank regained limited mobility. The commander gave order through intercom. Advance 30 meters, fire, relocate. She engaged. First gear. The 38-ton vehicle lurched forward, engine roaring. The repaired track clattered, but held its alignment. Elevation gain 3.5 meters. Range to enemy armor reduced to 400 meters. The gunner fired again. BR 350 billions. Shell struck Panzer IV side armor. Penetration achieved. Detonation followed. Secondary explosion from ammunition racks, visible at 4:38. The German formation hesitated. One burning vehicle blocked movement on their left flank. Soviet artillery adjusted coordinates and began concentrated barrage. 122 mm howitzers from Battery 4, 144th Artillery Regiment, zeroed on grid 216K. Impact pattern, consistent with delay fuses, timed for 0.5 seconds. The German column scattered. Oktyabrskaya maneuvered her tank into partial cover behind wreckage. The repaired track continued stable through 300 meters of rough ground. She applied left side braking to adjust heading, compensating for misalignment. By 4:52, her T-34 rejoined a small formation of 4 tanks under Captain Ivan Kravchenko. Combined firepower redirected toward German vehicles regrouping south of the ridge. Radio traffic brief. Coded. Channel 3. Call sign Birch. Signal. Quality poor. Soviet positions along the southern face of the salient were near collapse earlier that night. The German 4th Panzer Army, under General Hoth, had advanced nearly 6 kilometers in 12 hours. Soviet armored brigades from the 5th Guards Tank Army had counterattacked repeatedly. Losses heavy. At dawn, both sides fought at ranges below 600 meters. The T-34's mechanical advantage lay in its mobility and sloped armor. The diesel V2-34 engine produced 500 horsepower. The gearbox allowed speeds up to 54 kilometers per hour on firm ground, but damaged tracks nullified these strengths. Oktyabrskaya's repair restored not speed, but function. Function was survival. The German Panzer IV fielded high-velocity 75mm KWK-40 guns capable of penetrating 80mm of armor at 500 meters. The T-34's frontal armor measured 45mm at a 60-degree angle, giving effective thickness near 90. At that angle, glancing deflection possible. Straight hits, fatal. At 5:06, the fighting girlfriend crested the ridge and fired 2 rounds in quick succession. Both struck German half-tracks, igniting fuel. Infantry dispersed under the explosion shock. Machine gunner Fedotov fired the DT-29 coaxial gun, suppressing enemy positions. Oktyabrskaya adjusted throttle, engine temperature rising to 102 degrees Celsius. She switched to lower gear to maintain RPM within limits. Cooling system performance reduced by damaged radiator fins, but operational tolerance acceptable. Artillery impact patterns intensified. Ground concussion continuous. Shell fragments struck hull repeatedly. Paint blistered, but armor integrity held. Smoke reduced visibility to under 50 meters. Command ordered all units to hold current line until aerial reconnaissance confirmed enemy withdrawal. At 5:29, the German formation attempted another flank maneuver through a gully north of the ridge. 3 panzers advanced in column, using terrain depression for concealment. Soviet observers identified movement and relayed coordinates. Oktyabrskaya's tank repositioned downslope to intercept. She drove along contour 214, engine maintaining steady torque. The repaired track continued to grind, but showed no failure. Each vibration transmitted through floor plates, amplified by the tank's steel hull. The sensation was continuous mechanical heartbeat, unbroken rhythm of mass and motion. At 5:36, visual contact established. 1st Panzer, visible through morning haze. Range 350 meters. T-34 halted. Gun elevation adjusted 3 degrees downward. Firing solution computed. Gunner fired. Shell penetrated hull front. Exit through engine compartment. Vehicle stopped. 2nd Panzer returned fire immediately. The shell grazed the fighting girlfriend's right track guard, detonating dirt and shrapnel. Minor superficial damage. No penetration. Oktyabrskaya advanced 20 meters, rotated hull 15 degrees right to present sloped armor. The next German round struck at oblique angle, deflected. Gunner fired again. Second Panzer immobilized. Flames erupted from turret base. The third Panzer reversed, attempting retreat. Soviet artillery targeted the depression with air-burst shells. Detonations bracketed the position. Fragments rained across field. German vehicles halted. At 5:48, radio intercept confirmed enemy withdrawal on that sector. Soviet command recorded temporary stabilization. Estimated delay to German advance, 11 to 12 hours. Inside the Fighting Girlfriend, the crew operated by routine procedure. Spent shell casings accumulated under turret floor. Engine temperature reduced to 97 degrees Celsius. Ammunition remaining, 9 armor-piercing, 11 high-explosive rounds. Fuel at 42%. Oktyabrskaya checked track tension, again visually through the driver's periscope. Alignment held. Weld lines glowed faint red, but intact. She noted vibration amplitude decreased slightly. Metal cooling had stabilized geometry. Her actions, recorded later in the after-action log, were described in one line. Mechanic driver Oktyabrskaya performed field repair of left track under enemy fire, enabling continuation of combat mission. But the repair's tactical impact extended beyond that line. Her tank's survival preserved the left flank armor group's integrity at a critical junction. With one tank operational instead of abandoned, the Soviet defensive line maintained a crossfire position covering a 200-meter gap. The German push through that gap never materialized. At 6:15, Oktyabrskaya's unit advanced to a new position behind a destroyed Panzer. Ground temperature 24 degrees Celsius. Diesel fumes mixed with smoke from burning crops. Visibility variable between 60 and 120 meters. She cut engine, conserving fuel. Silence lasted only moments. At 6:21, artillery resumed. German counter-battery fire, directed by forward observers. 105mm rounds impacted along ridge crest. Shockwaves rolled through the tank hull like underwater pressure. Bolts rattled. Periscopes vibrated. She restarted the engine. The clutch engaged with metallic grind. The vehicle reversed downslope into depression, using terrain for partial protection. Dust and debris cascaded off the hull. At 6:40, communications reported reinforcements from 29th Tank Corps arriving on right flank. 32 operational vehicles, combined with remaining elements of 26th Guards. Total strength restored to 47 tanks. Oktyabrskaya's repair remained the only field track restoration recorded in that sector during active combat on July 12th. Most disabled vehicles had been destroyed by artillery before recovery. By 7:10, aerial observation confirmed German withdrawal south of the ridge. Smoke columns marked burning vehicles. Radio intercepts indicated regrouping west of Hill 252.2. Soviet command logged sector secure at 7:40. Total enemy losses: 8 tanks, 13 half-tracks, approximately 70 personnel. Soviet losses: 5 tanks destroyed, 3 damaged. Among damaged units, 1. Hull 432, listed as operational after field repair. By 8, the battlefield quieted. Artillery fire shifted north. The air carried smell of oil, burnt wheat, and molten steel. Crows circled above wreckage. Oktyabskaya remained at her post, hands black with carbon residue, uniform torn at sleeves. She wiped grease from her face with a rag blacker than before. She checked instrument panel readings. Fuel 38%. Oil. Pressure stable. Coolant temperature 92 degrees Celsius. Satisfied, she closed the cover plate and waited for next movement order. Field medics moved among destroyed vehicles collecting survivors. Engineers catalogued wrecks for salvage. One of them stopped beside the fighting girlfriend, noting weld seams glowing faintly in sunlight. He recorded photograph number 47, K43, frame showing repaired link under soot. That photograph remains in Central Archive of the Russian Ministry of Defense. File reference 2278 B1943. The annotation reads simply, "Track restored under combat conditions." Vehicle continued operation. At 9:30, Command ordered advance towards secondary defensive line at grid 214L. The T-34 moved with the formation, maintaining 30 km/h pace across uneven terrain. The repaired section continued to function throughout. By 10:10, they reached a temporary staging area near the village of Andreevka. Burned tractors, shattered telegraph poles, and abandoned German equipment littered the field. Engineers refueled tanks from 200-liter drums using hand pumps. Oktyabskaya assisted, as procedure required driver presence during refueling to monitor flow and prevent vapor ignition. Fuel replenished. Maintenance, inspection, brief. Track joints cooled. Weld lines solidified completely. She marked each connection with chalk to detect potential slippage. None appeared. At 10:42, the unit redeployed north to reinforce positions along the Sel River. Distance 9 kilometers. March speed 25 kilometers per hour. Ground soft from overnight rain. The repaired track carried full weight without failure. Throughout July 12th, the 5th Guards Tank Army continued engagements along the southern salient. The battle reached peak intensity at Prokhorovka that afternoon, with over 800 tanks in contact within a 15-square-kilometer area. Soviet T-34 seconds and KV-1 second engaged German Tigers and Panthers at ranges under 500 meters. Dust clouds obscured sun. Visibility, sometimes zero. Oktyabskya's tank remained at the periphery of that engagement, providing flanking support. Her driving precision and mechanical reliability allowed the crew to maintain firing positions longer than units with less experienced drivers. At 13:20, their position came under air attack. Ju-87 dive bombers released ordnance along Soviet armor columns. 2 bombs exploded 40 meters from her tank, concussive force lifting the vehicle partially off ground. The track jumped one tooth on the sprocket, but reseated. No mechanical failure. By 15, the sector stabilized again. German offensive momentum dissipated. Radio intercepts confirmed withdrawal orders for multiple units of 2 SS Panzer Corps. Soviet command considered the engagement outcome favorable, though casualties were severe. The defensive success prevented German encirclement attempt and preserved the Kursk salient. At 1740, Oktyabrskaya's crew received order to withdraw for refit and ammunition resupply. They returned to divisional service point near grid 213J. Distance 8.7 kilometers. The repair she performed that morning required no further maintenance for 73 operational hours, verified by subsequent inspection on July 15th. Her commanding officer's written note on the maintenance record stated, "Field repair sustained. No failure observed." That brief line entered the official after-action summary of the 26th Guards Tank Brigade. Later analysis by Soviet engineers cited it in training manuals as example of combat-capable field welding under fire. Archival data show that during the Battle of Kursk, average survival time for immobilized tanks under direct enemy observation was less than 6 minutes. Oktyabrskaya's repair required approximately 7. Probability of survival, statistically negligible. Outcome, complete. Her actions delayed enemy progress on that sector by nearly half a day. That delay allowed artillery regrouping and infantry reinforcement, preventing a forced breakthrough that could have compromised the southern flank of the Voronezh front. In August 1943, the brigade advanced west during Operation Polkovodets-Rumyantsev, liberating Belgorod and Kharkov. The Fighting Girlfriend remained operational through that campaign until October 1943, when Oktyabrskaya was wounded by shell fragments near Smolensk. She died in March 1944, but her mechanical precision at Kursk remained documented. Every subsequent Soviet tank repair manual referenced that incident under the heading Field Welding Procedure, Combat Conditions. File reports list her rank as Sergeant. Function: Driver Mechanic. Unit: 26th Guards Tank Brigade. Vehicle: T-34 76, hull number 432. Condition: post-engagement, operational. By dawn, her T-34 was still moving. The German advance at that sector stopped for 12 hours.